I don't know about you, but some of my favorite trails are fast, flowy single track that go on for miles. When ripping along at a pace like this, you can really cover a lot of ground. Now, I always knew trail building was a tough gig, but last year I learned the true scope of just how much effort goes into making something that puts a smile on riders' faces. You have to have major passion for it to want to voluntarily dig trenches in the middle of the woods for hours on end. Over this past winter, I've been planning a new trail on the property that'll be a little less full bore and more of a fun and flowy option. Sarah's always asked me to make something that she can ride to. And this week, we're breaking ground on that new trail. I wanted to take a different angle with this build, so instead of creeping along, building jump after berm after drop, I wanted to clear the trail in one go, creating a blank canvas to start building on. Clearing this in one shot, though, is going to take some time. Thinking about cutting in this entire trail all at once is a tremendous task, and with the finished product, we'll be lucky if the entire run lasts about a minute. This got me thinking back to those 20-minute plus trails that I love so much. Just how many hours does it take to create 1 minute of flowy trail? Now, I know there are a ton of variables with this question. Some trails have thick brush and down trees to clear, while others are just flagging a line and cutting it in. And some trails are made with heavy equipment, but there are plenty trails built just like what we'll be doing today. So while we do our prep work, I'll be tracking my time to see what the ratio is of hard labor compared to ride time. So let's get to it. The goal of this new trail is pure fun and flow without total jank. Man overboard is fun, but it does take a little bit of courage to pull the trigger to drop into it. One motivating factor to this new trail is to make something that Sarah can enjoy as well. There's only one thing on the property she's okay with riding right now, and it's the drop that she spotted and cut in last fall. This new trail is still going to have plenty of advanced features to it, but I want to make some alt lines to easily bypass things that some riders might not be comfortable hitting. We'll start at the very top of the property, coming down the right side of Man Overboard, crossing our driveways, making our way all the way down to the lower half. Over the course of the week, we'll be racking up build minutes on a lot of different things. In the area where we live, and I'm sure you're familiar with this from last season, we have these bushes and they're my arch nemesis. They grow into huge property-choking foliage that take a big amount of effort to get out. If you cut them at the tops, they just keep growing back thicker like weeds. They also spread by their roots, so the only real way to clear them out is to dig them up. So that's what we're doing when they're directly in our path. And still, to this day, the best way I've found to remove these things is with some help from the bushwhacker. If we add a small amount of tension to these, it makes it so much easier to find where the main roots are, and with a couple well-aimed whacks with the Pulaski, they pop right out, disappearing forever. Then we have the smaller brush variety, which I don't mind just cutting away. They're so abundant though that cutting them all by hand will just take forever. Luckily, being on property and not in the middle of the woods comes with some luxuries. This is your run-of-the-mill push mower that I'll now dub Brutus the Abused. I've had it forever, and now that we don't really have a lawn like we did back in town, Brutus doesn't see much action. So we'll show him some love, sharpen its teeth, and set it loose on the trails. I don't mind too much if Brutus gets wrecked from living a hard life of labor running over sticks and roots in the forest rather than spending a cushy life in the suburbs. This is going to make removing all those little teeny bushes that get tangled up in your drivetrain and spokes a breeze. We'll keep things like major rocks or sticks out of our path because I know he's Brutus the Abused, but might as well try and keep him from exploding on softball-sized rocks. But there's no guarantee that I won't once in a while hit something a little too big. Another time sink is planning the trail itself. You need to study the lay of the land, being that your primary form of propulsion comes from gravity. Line choice is important in order to keep the rider's momentum going forward instead of lost in long flat sections or an uphill slog. A well planned out trail will make use of terrain to create features, and on our trail I have 3 of those picked out.
Alright, so we're about 20 feet to the left going downhill, 20 feet this way from the whale tail, and the trail is going to come right behind you and go straight into this thick brush because right here is a huge mound of dirt which I want to incorporate into the trail. I think I might be able to make it into a cool hip jump or something, at least a double. So Gonna spend a lot of time clearing this out. It's really dense and thick, a lot of choked out dead stuff in there. So probably spend the next couple hours mucking it out, but I think it's gonna be a really cool part of the trail.
So this hip jump section is buried in some really thick dead underbrush, which is something I've wanted to clean since we moved in. Because in the summer, this stuff is a major fire hazard. We'll take advantage of the early season conditions to burn this stuff to make cleanup way easier. After a fair amount of time cleaning, we can actually see where our hip jump is going to go. And the dirt contained in this mound here is beautiful for building with. If you've ever lived in a place where the terrain is predominantly pine trees, you'll know the pain of raking pine needles. In the thick of our property where no one has tread, there are decades of built-up pine needles and underbrush to clear. Again, this is another fire hazard to our property, and while raking this up is tedious, there's one positive of having such thick ground coverage, and that everything underneath is pure soil, no grass or weeds to tend to. It literally smothered everything living underneath. This makes bench cutting on our new trail a lot easier. So far, we've spent almost all of our time up top, but now we're going to move towards the lower half and make our driveway crossing. And this is where another one of our natural features is located. Our lower driveway was cut into the hillside, leaving a large dirt wall. And this is a great place for a roll to gain some serious momentum before dropping into the final part of the trail. And what kicks off the final part? Well, we have a little step down that drops down off the driveway. Again, clearing is what's needed to show this line, and we're clearing it a little wide because I really want to build up this section to get some serious airtime.
So we're on our 5th day of building, and we're down at the bottom of the trail looking at the two of the natural features that we have going on. I have this big drop right behind, well, big. I have this nice little drop right behind me that we're going to cut in, going into a downhill step down section. I'm hoping that this is going to give us enough speed to actually make a nice little double off that step down. I might need to build it up with wood in a little bit, but for now, we're going to clear it out, see how it rolls, and make any changes in the future if we need to.
I feel like we're definitely going to be building this roll up in the future, but right now this will work just fine for linking our two trail halves together. After more raking, snipping, and mowing down below, our top to bottom trail is nearly cleared out. There's one last thing I wanted to do before taking our first run on the trail and logging our lap time versus labor total.
So I'm pretty confident we can turn this ugly mound of dirt into something really fun. Definitely gonna be a hip jump of sorts. I was gonna leave it for the test ride, but I think I'm just gonna make a teeny lip into it, you know, that way it's something fun. Gotta catch some air on the first lap of the trail.
5 minutes later, we have a micro jump. It's not a ton, but at least we'll have a section where both tires are gonna leave the ground at the same time. So as a rough cut trail, our run clocked in at 48.5 seconds, which isn't too bad. We didn't hit that perfect 60-second mark, so now I'll have to do some dreaded math. After all was said and done, with absolute minimum trail clearing done to make it so I could ride from top to bottom, this little project took me 14.2 man-hours to clear. If we compare the ratio of 14.2 hours of work time to 48.5 minutes of ride time, and bump our ride time up to 60 seconds, at the rate I cleared, it would take me 17.5 hours to make a whole minute of ride time. And this isn't even good ride time right now. There's still a buttload of work to be done to make it enjoyable. You need to cut in a better trail surface, make jumps, and build berms, and a lot of them. Seeing how much work went into making this as of now mediocre little trail, I have a whole new level of respect for trail builders and everyone that maintains the trails that I love to ride on. So to all the trail crews out there doing what you do best, thank you. Have you ever done your own trail building? If so, what are the things that you enjoy the most and completely dread about it? Leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trail build, hit like. We'll be adding some good stuff to this blank canvas in the coming weeks, so be sure to subscribe to follow along. Thanks for watching me do some glorified yard work today, and until next time, keep that rubber side down.